Hope you guys are doing well today. You guys are doing very well. Uh, so we've created a new AI model, and I wanted to walk through it. But before I begin, um, please, if you can, just share this Discord server, share it with all your friends, get everyone involved. And the reason is because I'm honestly sick of these sports betting apps advertising on the TV channel and online and all this stuff and taking money from so many people. They prey on just normal people like you and I. And so, what I really want to do is be able to have a platform that takes that money back and kind of sticks it to the man a little bit, because these guys, they advertise heavily on websites, on TV, on the internet, all that stuff. And it, if we can really just make some money and take the money back from these sportsbook apps, it's going to be huge. We're probably going to be shut down if we do it well enough. But with this AI model, I think we're going to make a huge disruption in the space. So I just wanted to put up this video to kind of run through how this AI model that I developed works. So I guess here's a little rundown. So if you're not familiar with like statistics and stuff, my background is a software developer. I went to school for statistics and machine learning and AI and neural networks and stuff like that. And most companies that I've seen, they simply just do the team stats. They do the home versus away performance. So if somebody on the home team, they simply just get average 80 yards a game, then why couldn't they get 80 yards a game on the next game? Well, it's because of all these other things that come into play. It's the player matchups, it's the offense versus defense, it's the injury reports, it's the pace of play. It's if it's super windy, somebody that kicks field goals, they're gonna more likely to miss or throw the ball. So if you got a team that rushes the ball a lot more and it's super windy, they're more likely to win. Also, rest days, back to back games, stuff like that. An NFL team that's got a bye week, they got about 2 weeks to just rest, get better, get stronger. In NFL, they play pretty heavily, so that's a huge, huge advantage. The based on the AI model that I developed, it has all these data sets in play, and these are the sources that I use. I use Sports Trader, ESPN API, I use WeatherBit API, stuff like that. The WeatherBit has the weather conditions in play. The Sport Trader and the ESPN API, also WebScrape API. I'll show you some stuff here. So this is Sports Trader. They have probably the best API for all of the technology that they have. Some of their sensors are actually in the balls here. So believe it or not, they have sensors inside basketballs, inside the footballs and stuff for different sports. Here's the ESPN. Here's just a JSON configuration from the API here from ESPN. So this is like the data that we take in, gets parsed out. So this will have the player stats, this will have the team stats, stuff like that. Pretty large file. This is just one example. Also, we have the injury reports. This is another example. Let's say for the Arizona Cardinals, we got somebody out, questionable, stuff like that. So this is going to be a huge advantage to know this sort of stuff. Home field advantage, things like that. So that's just kind of a rundown of our data sources. And the source, the input you put into the functions and to the model is going to be huge. So we have the top tier data that you can get. We got injury reports, basic ESPN data, and Sports Trader data, which they have literally sensors in the balls, in the basketballs, in the footballs, stuff like that. So we have huge data there. So now we data process and clean the data, but typically we fill in the missing data with just regular NANs. We have rolling averages, momentum indicators. So if someone's on a hot streak, that will adjust the odds based on that. for us, not for the other team. So if someone has a couple touchdowns in a row and they're on a hot streak, or if someone's on a losing streak, it's not that it's their due, it's that they're on a bad streak or they're on a great streak, and those trends do matter. So that's why we've feature engineered it to do that as well. We're not using random forest, we're using some other algorithm for our neural network, but that's arbitrary, so we'll skip over that. We train our model, team matchups, records, injuries, etc., etc. But our biggest thing that we use right here is the simulate parlays. That is our biggest thing. Most companies out there and most people that put in bets, they simply go off of team stats. That's all they do. If a team or a player has a specific amount of yards or points or whatever, that's what the company averages or predicts on. If a person rushes for 60 yards a game, average, then they're going to put in, okay, this person's going to average 60 yards. But what happens if they have a hamstring injury? Are they going to get 60 yards? What happens if the defense is super good? Are they going to get 60 yards? What happens if it's super snowy out, or you can't, low visibility due to fog or other conditions, or it's a home or away? How does that impact their performance? And that's what we do. We simulate our parlays 10,000 times. I put in a bet yesterday that had the Texas A&M winning by minus 9.5 spread. The spread on the money line spread was minus 21 for Texas A&M. And guess what happened? They won by 10 points exactly. And the simulated parlay said put in the bet on 9.5, because based on 10,000 games, the very minimum that the team won by was 10 points. So out of 10,000 games, they win by 10 at least every single time. They might win by 21, they might win by 20, but at the very least, to gauge the downside, they're going to very least win by 10. And guess exactly what happened? They won by exactly 10 points. So that's why the simulated parlay is so important. You simulate 10,000 games, and if the very minimum, if 10,000 games, they win by 20 here, they win by 30 here, they win by 40 here, by 10 here, by 10 here, by 10 here, but the very minimum is they win by 10. They never win by 7, they never win by 2, they never lose. Out of 10,000 games, they win by 10 at the very least. If they would have lost a game, this AI model would have completely avoided that parlay, that leg specifically, just like in the Alabama game, just like in the other games. If it didn't happen every single time, the AI model would have completely avoided it. But based on 10,000 games played in a simulation, based on all of these weather conditions, injury reports, team stats, home and away, all this sort of stuff, travel distance, back-to-back games, stuff like that, rest days. Based on all of that data on 10,000 games simulated, the Texas A&M, they won by 10 points. That's the very little that they won. So on 10,000, in other simulations they won by 20, they won by 15, they won by 12, but the bare minimum is they won by 10. And today was that day where they won by exactly 10. And that's why this AI model predicted and recommended that we put in minus 9.5, because it's nearly impossible based on 10,000 games that they would win by less than 10 points. So that's why I said bare minimum 10. Boom, throw it in there. Other games like the Alabama game, it was a toss up. All this simulated thing didn't have a 100% guarantee based on the 10,000 simulations. Now this is based on a 5,000 odd optimization. So this is based on the algorithms, high odds, stuff like that. And based on right now what we have, the data we have, it's a 33% success rate based on what we've put over on bets. So that means if you put in let's say your betting unit is $10, which mine was for the test period. You put in a $10 bet and you do that 3 times. One of your bets, one bet's going to win, two is going to lose, but you got one bet that's going to pay out $500 on a $10 bet, and you got two of your bets that are going to lose the $10. So I just kind of wanted to run down and give you guys some more information about how this works. This continuous learning and model updating. This isn't really going to work as well for real time. Um, Maybe we'll probably get into that sooner or later once we continue to test this model. But right now, what we really have is we have so much data, and we're also simulating the parlays. That's our biggest thing. Is most other companies that have like AI stuff or whatever, all they really do is just do the team stats and say, oh, this person's going to do 80 yards today, but they don't go into the fact that maybe that person has a hamstring injury, or maybe the defense is really good versus their offense, or maybe there's crazy weather conditions where the over under might be way under than people might have thought. So that's where this AI model that I developed has all of these factors in place. It's a huge data set. Like I said the other day, it took an hour for me to train it, just for the hyperparameters that I put in with the tuning. So we're gonna continue to test this thing. I just want to give you guys a rundown. It's optimized for about 5,000 odds, but it's gonna avoid the cool thing about the simulated parlays. It's gonna avoid those games which are kind of a toss up. Most people say, it's a minus 200. This team's gonna win, but under 10,000 simulated games with all these environment variables, injury reports, team stats, pace of play, matchup, offense or defense. Like the Alabama game, Alabama was going to win straight up, but the simulated parlay just completely avoided that 100% because it knew, okay, it's not 100% guaranteed. It's a toss up. And I put in the 3 parlays. 2 of them missed by a couple of yards, literally just like 2 or 3 yards rushing. And the other one hit for $640 on a $10 bet. So this thing's legit so far. It's optimized for 5,000 odds, so you're going to get 50 betting units. So that basically means if you put in 50 bets, and you hit one of them, you're going to break even, based on this thing. But so far right now, if you put in 3 bets, you're going to hit one based on the success rate. So the way it works is I literally just open up this terminal and I put in a couple. So I hope this is a little informational. I will talk to you guys later. If you got any questions, just reach out and we'll put something together and